All of them, but one of the ones Governor Scott touched upon to some extent at his State of the State message last week was something he's talked about just about ever since he came into office 4 years ago, or 3.5 years ago, whatever it's been now at this point. And that's the demographic issue facing Vermont. We're an aging state, second oldest, I believe, in the country. We're still behind Maine, barely.
Yes.
But clearly, that's a situation that, in the long term, is not going to be sustainable. The state has come up with a couple of programs: the State of Stay and the State of Play, and all of that incentives to help people move here. Do you think those are good ideas, or moving us in the right direction, or what more should the state be doing to try and bring more folks to Vermont to be permanent residents?
This is actually the number one reason why I'm running. There are very few voices under the age of 40 or under 35, like myself, that are in the public sphere talking about it. I'm a millennial, and I know that I speak for my generation and those that will follow me. This Vermont is not sustainable. It's not sustainable for people like me. I want to be able to buy a house. I really want to be able to buy a house. I can't. I want to be able to afford to have children and raise them in Vermont. I can't. I want to be able to save money for retirement and live here in Vermont. I can't. The number one reason is there are no upwardly mobile career options, because you don't just want a job, a minimum wage job, whether that's $15 or $20 an hour. You want the ability to have a career where you can actually grow, right? That's not available in Vermont. And if that's not available, then we have a problem. You can have all these little things like, $10,000 to come here, $7,500 to come here. But if there is a fundamental change in the philosophy of Vermont government, if it's open for business, if it's pro-business, if it's pro-economic growth and economic freedoms, people will come here. They'll just come here on their own. So I think Art Wolf, who's a former UVM economics professor and now is an analyst, he said that we are experiencing an unusual rate of losing demographics. And the reason is people don't like to live in cold climates and people don't like to live in small towns. I can't think of anything more ridiculous, I'm sorry. Because when you look at the top 5 states to which people are going, Alaska, North Dakota, and Idaho are part of them. They're all cold and they all have small towns, right? It's not about that. People love small towns, love rural communities. There's a lot to love, and Vermont is so beautiful. People would love to come here. Young people come to Dartmouth and they want to stay. Young people come to UVM and they want to stay. You know, after they study, they want to stay, like me and my husband. But if you don't have an opportunity to have a career, then how can you ever stay here? So how do we combat that? You combat that by changing the fundamental philosophy of the legislature and the bureaucratic class. And that's what I'm running for, to advocate for a systemic reform, complete reform, and a fundamental shift in the way that the state is governed. So it's not about ideology or pushing different agendas. So we see they want to legalize prostitution, for example. That's one of the bills that's been introduced that people are talking about. Or even tax and regulate marijuana, because that's going to increase revenue. How are these actually helping people do well in life? How are you giving people an opportunity to have prosperity? They're